So in this module or in this video we are going to see about your OFDMA and SCFDMA in LTE. So your OFDMA is going to be used in downlinks and transmission, and your SCFDMA is going to be used in uplink transmission. So here in this case now we are going to see what is going to be the basic OFDMA standards which you are going to follow for the system to work. So first is basically here your whatever data we want to send, the data is going to be sent in, is going to be specified as quanta or units there. Where it is going to be specified in your time frequency resource which is going to be assigned there. So this quanta or units of time frequency resource can be assigned. So in this case we are going to specify what is going to be the messaging protocol that allows the mobile station to request for the resources when it is necessary, and to know what resources they have been assigned for both for transmission and reception there. So here the ranging procedures. So the ranging procedures must be specified so that the simultaneous uplink transmissions from different mobile users can be reliably decoded at the base station. So here the following things should be taken care by the OFDMA standard. One is what is going to be the quanta or the units of time frequency resource block that is going to be assigned. Second is your messaging protocols that is going to allow the mobile station to what is the messaging protocol that is going to be used by the mobile station to request for the resources when it is necessary, and to know what resources they have been assigned both for transmission as well as your reception there. And next is the ranging procedures. So ranging procedures must be specified so that when there is going to be a uplink transmission, there is going to be a simultaneous uplink transmission from different mobile users so that the mobile station can record it reliably there. So next is we are going to see your LTE time frequency grid. So LTE time frequency grid is here this mobile units are going to be allocated, a group of carriers are going to be allocated to the mobile units over your time and frequency known as your resource block. So the size of the resource block is going to be chosen as a trade-off between the granularity and your overhead. So here for example, if I want to assign any subcarrier to any user in a time slot, then it should increase, we should see that there is going to be no increase in your amount of overhead that is going to be specified. So that the current location, about the current location to all the mobile units. So here in this case, if I am going to assign any subcarrier to any user in any time slot, then in that case I should see that the amount of overhead should not be large enough so that to specify the current location of the mobile units. So here in this case our main aim is to reduce the overhead, and which is going to be achieved by our OFDM TDMA type system there. But this system is not going to be efficient because because there will be a delay in total throughput, delay and your peak power. So here in this case we are going to see the structure of LTE time frequency grid frame of 1.4 megahertz channel. So here one slot is going to be taken as a small duration, that is 0.5 milliseconds, and now we are going to have two slots form one subframe. So here in this case we have totally 0 to 10 milliseconds is going to be taken as one frame. In one frame we are going to have a number of subframes, and each subframe is going to consist of two slots. So here in this case each frame is going to be a small unit of the resource block. So where the resource block is going to consist of 12 subcarriers and 7 OFDM symbols. So here a typical resource block is going to consist of 12 subcarriers over 7 OFDM symbols, which is also going to be referred to as a time slot. So in a time slot we are going to have 7 OFDM symbols and 12 subcarriers. So here in this case the time slot range is going to be around 0.5 milliseconds, and two consecutive subplots is going to form a subframe there. So the resources are going to be allocated to users in units of your resource blocks. So here in this case over a subframe, that is 12 subcarriers means one subframe consists of two slots. So 2 into totally 7 OFDM symbols. So 2 into 7 totally 14 OFDM symbols are going to be available in one subframe for a total of 14 into 12 subcarriers. That means that 14 into 12 is 168 resource elements, which is in practice are the QAM symbols here. So here in this case, all the 168 resource elements will not be used for data. Some will be used for control informations in layer 1 and layer 2. So here the subcarriers of these resource blocks can be allocated in any one of the two ways. Either it can be distributed or it can be continuous. So when it is going to be a distributed subcarrier allocation, so distributed means one by one it is going to be allocated. So here in this case it is going to take advantage of the frequency diversity, hereby spreading the resource block hop from across the entire channel bandwidth there. So here we are going to follow a comb pattern. Comb pattern is, suppose a subcarrier 1, then subcarrier 2, that is frequency 1, frequency 2, 4 frequencies I am going to assume, means it is going to follow a comb pattern. Comb pattern is F1, F2, F3, F4, again repetition F1, F2, F3, F4. It is going to be a continuous sequencer. So it is going to follow a comb pattern at any given point of time for a given user there, so that the subcarriers are going to occur at even intervals across the entire frequency bandwidth. So here in this case, this is going to be your OFDMA is going to be mainly used in your downlink transmission when distributed subcarrier allocation is going to be used. So the frequency diversity can be achieved by hopping a continuous block of subcarriers in time. So here in this case, if I want to achieve the frequency diversity, in that case, I have to go for frequency hopping. That is, a continuous block of elements are going to be hopped from in time duration there. So the frequency diversity is going to be achieved as long as the interleaving is going to be employed, and in that case, which is going to have an LTE, we are going to have a heavy interleaving to be present there. So in uplink we are going to use a single carrier FDMA transmitters, which is going to be based on a contiguous set of subcarriers. So continuous set of subcarriers we are going to have. So second allocation is adjacent subcarrier allocation. So adjacent subcarrier allocation is, it is going to rely on the based on the quality of the channel. So here in this case, based on what is going to be the quality of the channel, allocation of the resources are going to be done, so that each user can be allocated a resource block where they have a strong channel there. So since a block of 12 subcarriers we are going to have, this block of 12 subcarriers is going to be smaller than the coherence bandwidth of the channel there. So in that case, the frequency diversity is not going to be achieved. So here we are going to have, is going to be helpful as long as the scheduler is able to assign good blocks to each user. So adjacent subcarrier is based on the channel quality, your resources are going to be allocated to each user, so that efficient transmission occurs. Next is, we are going to have your allocation notification and uplink feedback. So in your LTE uplink, we know that the notification, your LTE uplink notification and feedback signaling we have to do between the base station and the mobile station should be done on a logical control channel there. So here we are going to use a physical downlink command control channel there. So here we are going to have the signaling is going to carry to use in the downlink reception as well as in the uplink transmission for the mobile station. So the base station must broadcast the information to the pool of active users in itself. So here in this case, your it should give the notification and feedback signaling between the mobile station and the base station is going to be done on the logical control channel, and the signaling is going to carries use to in the downlink reception and the uplink transmission for mobile station. So here the basic functions, physical downlink control channel is going to specify the following purpose, is going to be used for the following purposes: downlink resource block allocation, uplink resource block allocation, the QAM constellation to use per resource block, and the type and rate of coding that is going to be used per resource block. Once a user is able to decode the physical downlink control channel, it should precisely know where to receive and to transmit and how to transmit. All this it should be specified. That is based in the type and rate of coding there. Then the PDC, that is your physical downlink control channel, is sent over the first 2-3 OFDM symbols of each subframe across all the subcarriers there. So here in this case, the physical downlink control channel is going to use 14 to 21% of the total downlink capacity, which is going to be used by PDCCHL. So additional downlink capacity is also used by other control channels and pilot symbols. So to aid the base station in uplink scheduling, LTE is going to utilize the buffer status reporting, wherein each user can notify the base station about its queue length, channel quality information, feedback. So once the base station is going to be informed about the channel to or from the users and the respective queue lengths, then it can take and appropriately determine the optical allocation among the various users there. So in the downlink, the base station is going to have a knowledge about the amount of the buffered data for each user, while in the uplink, it can estimate the channel from each user there. So the buffer status report feedback is only going to be used for uplink scheduling, while channel quality information feedback is going to be used for downlink scheduling and your adaptive modulation coding mode selection there. So the channel quality indicator reporting can be either it can be periodic or it can be aperiodic, wideband or subband, and multiple channel quality indicator feedback modes are defined for different scenarios there. So next is power control. Power control is nothing but it is going to be a solution to equalize the signal to interference noise ratio values over the cell, and hence they control the intercell interference in both the uplink as well as in the downlink there. So in this case, based on the power control, it is going to manage the self interference and is related to imperfect time frequencies about synchronization between the different uplink users. So if power control is not going to be used, the different signals may be received with different powers, and in this case the dynamic range of the problem will occur, and will be having a dynamic range of powers when the signal is A to D converted there. And next is, if the power control is not going to be used, the strong users will dominate the A to D dynamic range, and the weak users will experience severe quantization noise, and it will be very difficult to reconstruct the signal there and are impossible in some cases. So here in this case, some uplink power control is going to be needed in OFDMA or SCFDMA systems there. So here we are going to use a closed loop power control. So closed loop power control is going to be possible in the uplink, where the base station can explicitly indicate the maximum transmit power density that can be used by each user. So here in this case, closed loop is when I am going to get a feedback from the other device, that is, then based on the feedback I can control the power there. So in the closed loop power control, here is going to be possible where a base station will send the power information to the mobile station through the reference signals, and it will indicate what is going to be the maximum, what should be the maximum transmit power density there. If it receives a less power, then in that case that will also be indicated to the mobile station there. And your physical downlink control channel is going to carry the power control information when the uplink allocation for each user is specified. So the uplink power control algorithm in LTE is going to be flexible in terms of the channel inversion it performs it. So suppose if no power control is going to be used, all users are going to be transmit at full power, and the result will be a high spectral efficiency there. But the battery efficiency will be reduced, and the cell edge users are going to be in the most disadvantaged position there. So here what we are going to do is, in order to manage it, what we are going to have a balanced fractional power control there. So the fractional power control is going to be used in the open loop power control scheme. So in the downlink, there is going to be no closed loop power control is going to be specified in the standard. It can specify only a relative power offset between different users. So here in this case, how it is going to be done is by a higher layer message, and it can be performed on much longer time scales compared to your uplink power control. So here, by allocating the different power offsets among the different users according to their location, the system can try to improve the fairness in terms of the data rate of a user and who is at the cell edge relative to that of the user closer to the base station. So in this case, when the mobile stations wants to transmit to the base station, the different mobile stations are going to be given based on the location. The mobile stations are going to be allocated different powers. Power offsets are going to be given so that we can get a better data rate, and we can see that the efficiency of the data transmission can be improved. Thank you.